The corridor hums with a low-grade fluorescence, the kind that drills straight through your skull and etches a white halo around every bloodshot eye. Third floor, pediatric neurology. Walls the color of old piano keys, disinfectant tang so thick it's the only thing I taste. Someone's left the TV in the family lounge running on mute. A cartoon mouse pantomimes violence in loops, stuck in purgatory. I lean against a vending machine that smells of burnt coil and double espresso. The clock claims it's just past 10, but the place is dead except for 2 orderlies arguing over a crossword and the kid with the wet cough who's been hacking up his life since I got here. Hospitals don't sleep, they just go numb after dark. I'm not here for an assignment, not officially. Retired detectives shouldn't loiter in children's wards, but I owe Stan Price a favor, and the ledger isn't getting any shorter. His message had the usual panic under a glaze of Midwestern politeness. Jamie's awake, and it started again. Please come tonight. Stan never asked for help when he wore the badge, so it means the roof's on fire. The elevator dings, and Stan emerges in a rumpled suit that looks like it's been used to smother a house fire. His hair's gone mostly salt, and he's aged 10 years since we last had coffee. He walks like a man who's broken bad news too many times and started to expect it back. "Ray, you look like hell," he says. "I'm blending in," I tell him, and it almost gets a smile. He leads me down a side corridor, past the memorial wall with glossy faces of children smiling through terminal illnesses. "Shepard's on tonight," he says, meaning the neurologist. "You'll like him. Dry as the janitor's martini." "Is he the one writing all the articles?" Stan's face goes tight, which is his way of nodding. He pushes open a conference room with a half-lit glass wall. "Doctor." Shepard sits at the far end, sleeves rolled, arms folded. Young for the position, but with the bleached look of someone who never leaves the building. He's got the resignation of a career insomniac and the faintest tremor in his right hand. Next to him, a woman I peg instantly as the mother. Hands clamped around a purse strap, face raw and scrubbed, eyes fixed on the condensation pooling under her water bottle. Stan makes introductions. Shepard doesn't stand. He flicks his gaze over me like he's updating a file. Retired, probable hypertension, needs sleep. "So, detective," Shepard starts, "I assume Stan's briefed you on the basics?" I nod, but I want it from the source. Shepard steeples his fingers. "Jamie Price was in a coma for 3 weeks. Closed head injury, GCS of 6 at admission. That alone is notable. But when he came to, he began exhibiting unusual recall." "Unusual how?" I ask. The mother's voice catches. "He remembers things. From before. From when he was out." She swallows and the words stick. "And things that aren't his." Shepard slides a folder across the table. I thumb through the notes, medical jargon, EEGs, behavioral logs, and then something stranger. Transcripts of Jamie recounting events in the hospital, some going back decades, names, procedures, snippets of old routines. "Let's not jump to any conclusions," Shepard says, as if that's a thing people do. Post-traumatic memory distortion isn't new. What's unique is the specificity, the accuracy. He's not guessing, he's reporting, as if he lived it. "Or someone lived it for him," Stan mutters. Shepard's jaw tightens. He's not a man who enjoys sharing his mysteries. I look to the mother. She's gripping the purse so hard the strap bites her knuckles white. "Have you seen him since he woke up?" She flinches. He knows things about us, about our house, things we never told him." Stan fills the silence. "First night he called her Linda, which was her grandmother's name. She died last year, but Jamie never met her." Then he started talking about patients on other floors, old staff, rooms that don't exist anymore. At first, it was harmless. Now, he looks away. He's started having the dreams. Shepard shifts, and the tremors more visible. Night terrors with consistent content, always about the third floor, always after the nurses do rounds. I close the folder. You want me to catch the boogeyman? Shepard's lips twitch. We'd like an external opinion, preferably someone who understands the psychology of trauma but isn't bound by academic bias. I let that hang. You mean someone who still believes in monsters? Shepard doesn't smile. Call them what you like. There's a knock, and a nurse pokes her head in. Mrs. Price, he's asking for you. She half stands, wavers. Stan puts a hand on her arm. Go. I'll catch up. She leaves, shoes silent on the tile. I fix on Shepard. Is there any rational explanation for this? Meds? Post-op hallucinations? Suggestion? Shepard runs a hand through his hair. I've tested him for malingering, monitored his sleep. He's not fabricating. And he's not the first patient in this hospital to demonstrate post-traumatic hypermnesia. Just the youngest and the most detailed. Are you saying he's picking this up from the staff? Shepard glances at the clock. Some of what he reports predates most of us. He described a nurse who worked here in the 90s, knew her routine, even her habit of hiding cigarettes in the linen closet. She died in 2003. Stan slides a photo across. It's the nurse, Grace Talbot, her badge number visible. Jamie drew her last week, Stan says. Said she told him not to trust the man with the shaking hands. Shepard's hands curl into fists. It's a coincidence. Is it? I ask. He stands. I don't expect you to believe me, but see him yourself. Maybe you'll find something we've missed. Stan walks me out, pausing by the doors. He leans in, voice low. I know what you're thinking. I'd think it too. But he's my boy, Ray. I just need to know he's still in there. I tell him the only thing I know how. I'll find the truth, Stan, even if you don't want it. He nods once and disappears down the corridor, footsteps echoing in the empty wing. I stay behind, alone with the hum of the lights and the click of the vending machine, staring at the sketch of a dead nurse and the note beneath it, written in a child's careful hand. Don't trust the man with the shaking hands. Somewhere down the hall, a boy who should be dead is remembering lives that don't belong to him, and I've just agreed to help him remember more. The room is a shoebox lit by a single blue LED. Jamie sits on the bed, knees drawn up, a hospital gown riding loose over his sharp frame. His hair is damp, plastered to his head like someone's tried to wring the nightmares out by hand. Machines beep in slow, stubborn time. He looks up when I come in, blinking like I've turned on the sun. His eyes are bigger than any kid's ought to be, and they track every movement with the precision of a hunted animal. Next to the bed, a tray of untouched apple juice and Jell-O wobbles in the crosswind from the vent. Hey, Jamie, I say, voice tuned to gentle, which always feels false in my throat. Mind if I sit? He nods, says nothing. I take the visitor's chair. The air in here is heavy with humidifier steam and something underneath, an acrid tang I can't place. Reminds me of scorched toast and melted plastic like the aftermath of a kitchen fire. Jamie fidgets, rubbing his thumb over the corner of the blanket. Are you the detective? He asks, quiet as the prelude to a storm. That's me. He considers this, then asks, Did you bring the picture? I fish it out. Grace Talbot, the nurse, laminated smile and old-school perm. Jamie looks at it for 3 seconds, then sets it face down on the tray. She was scared, he says. My hackles go up. Who scared her? Jamie shrugs, and for a second he's just a kid in a hospital bed, chewing at a hangnail. The man with the shaking hands. I think about Shepard, the neurologist, but say nothing. Did you know her? I ask. He shakes his head, but there's a long delay before he says, She talked to me last night. I watch him, waiting for a tell, a smile, a tick, the gleam of attention-seeking. Nothing, just a slow, meditative calm. What did she say? I ask. Jamie rolls his head back, looks at the ceiling. She said she was cold. She wanted someone to come, but nobody did. His voice has shifted, flat now, older, almost monotone. I glance at the machines. Heart rate normal, respiration low. He's not acting. He's somewhere else. I lean forward. Can you tell me what happened to her? Jamie closes his eyes, and his face settles into something eerily adult. When he speaks again, the cadence is all wrong for a 9-year-old. It was late. I was on rounds. They left the lights on in the hallway. He waited until the phone rang, then he came from the closet. He put his arm around my throat and pulled me down. His fingers twitch, miming the gesture. He smelled like whiskey and sweat. He said, don't scream, just let it happen. The air gets thinner. I watch his hands. They're white-knuckled, clutching the blanket, but he's not crying. I tried to get up. He held me down. The world got blue, and then I was on the floor. The lights flickered. I heard the nurse call button go off, but nobody came. He pauses, and his next words drop an octave. He wore the ring on his right hand. I glance at the photo again, but Grace's hands are cropped out. Jamie's voice goes soft. He said, Sorry, Gracie, can't leave loose ends. He's quoting. Not just retelling, channeling. I try to keep my tone steady. Do you know who he was? Jamie opens his eyes, stares at the far wall. He had a badge, like yours. He tilts his head, the way dogs do when they're puzzling out a command. He worked here. Something cold slithers up my back. I let the silence pool. Eventually, Jamie shivers and hugs himself. I don't like being her. She's always cold. I say, You're not her, Jamie. You're safe. You're just remembering. He nods, unconvinced. Do you think she's mad at me? No, I say, hoping I sound convincing. He looks at the juice, then away. Sometimes I wake up and there's blood in my mouth, even if I didn't bite my tongue. The beeping ratchets up, just a hair. Jamie buries his face in his knees. I pull the chair closer. Jamie, do you ever see the man with the ring? He nods. Sometimes he stands by the nurse's desk. He doesn't like it when I talk about her. Does he talk to you? A small shake of the head. He just watches. Sometimes he pretends to be nice, but I know what he did. A few more questions, and I get nowhere. Jamie's energy fades. He starts speaking in half sentences, then not at all. The nurse on night duty drifts in, checks his chart, gives me a look I've seen before, a cocktail of pity and professional skepticism. She tucks Jamie in, dims the light, and walks me to the door. In the hallway, I ask, who had access to the 3rd floor back then? She shrugs, says, pretty much everyone. Admin, security, medical staff. But after what happened to Miss Talbot, they changed the locks. Ever hear of a staff member with a drinking problem? Maybe a cop? She blinks, recalibrates. There was a security guy, Riley, I think. Got let go after the incident, but that was ages ago. You'd have to check records. I make a mental note. Thanks. Back in the corridor, the world feels a fraction grayer. The vending machine hums. A janitor mops the floor. avoiding eye contact with the badge on my belt. I take out the sketch Jamie made of Grace Talbot. The lines are rough, but there's a haunted sadness to it, like he's drawn her in the instant before she realizes she's dead. I pocket the sketch and head for the elevator, mind already churning. The man with the ring, the smell of whiskey, security badge, Grace's last words, echoing through the fog of years. Kids don't make this stuff up, not with that kind of detail. As the doors close, I catch my reflection in the stainless steel. Hollow eyes, jaw set too hard. I look like a man with something to lose. Maybe I am. One floor down, the doors open and Dr. Shepard steps in. He looks like he hasn't slept in days. "Well?" he asks, not meeting my eyes. "He's not lying," I tell him. "And he's not just remembering." Shepard sighs. "I was afraid you'd say that." We ride in silence to the lobby, past the wall of memorial faces. I wonder which of them still haunts this place, riding shotgun in the minds of children too young to know the price of remembering. Outside, the rain has started, streaking the glass with lines of melting neon. Somewhere in this building, a boy is dreaming someone else's nightmare. And the worst part is, I believe him. The hospital cafeteria is a fluorescent afterlife. Every surface is the color of a bad memory. It's just past midnight, but the clock on the wall insists it's later than that, time having oozed sideways into the kind of hour where only janitors and men with regrets are awake. Shepard sits at a booth under a flickering light, a paper cup of coffee sweating onto the table. Stan is next to him, hunched over and tracing the edge of his tray with a thumbnail. They look up when I walk in, and neither says hello. I slide in across from them. Hope I didn't miss the dinner rush. Shepard's hands are steadier now, maybe from exhaustion. "You talked to Jamie?" "He's not making it up," I say, keeping my voice soft. "And some of the things he's saying, no way he got them off the internet." Stan glances at Shepard, then at me. "He told you about the ring?" "And the whiskey," I say. "He said the killer wore it on his right hand. Knew Grace's name, her routine, even the code for the supply closet." Shepard's expression flickers, a crack in the clinical mask. "Kids pick up more than you think. Maybe he overheard staff talking." "Or maybe," Stan cuts in, voice low and tight, "there's more to this than brain damage." Shepard sighs, pinches the bridge of his nose. "We need to stay rational, Stan. I've seen patients come out of comas with full-blown confabulation. The brain fills gaps with stories, sometimes vivid, sometimes borrowed. Jamie's just channeling a dead nurse?" Stan's words hang in the air like a dare. Shepard rubs his eyes. "We can't rule out suggestion. The story's been part of hospital lore for years." "Not the way Jamie tells it," Stan says. "He knew about the badge, the ring, details that never made the news. Hell, he even knew Grace was left-handed. Only family and close staff knew that. It wasn't in any article. I'm with Stan on this one, though I don't admit it out loud. The more I think about Jamie's story, the harder it is to staple it to coincidence." Shepard takes a slow sip of coffee, as if it might give him more time. "I'm not saying it's not strange. I just want to keep things grounded." I lean back, stare at the ceiling tiles. "What do you know about this security guard?" "Riley." Shepard shrugs. "Rumor is he got canned after the incident. Drinking on the job, maybe worse. Admin swept it fast, said Grace died in a slip and fall. Some of the old-timers thought otherwise." Stan's lips tighten. "We asked HR for records. They said everything pre-2005 was destroyed in the flood. Convenient." "Was there a police investigation?" I ask. Stan shakes his head. "Closed before it opened. Cause of death was asphyxiation, but the coroner called it accidental." I let that percolate. If Jamie's right, and this Riley killed Grace, Shepard interrupts. If you're taking the word of a traumatized 9-year-old. I've known liars, I say. Jamie's not one, and if he's confabulating, it's with details nobody had access to. I look at Stan. You say he talked about a badge? Stan nods. Said the number started with a 3. I checked. Riley's ID was 3287. That's not on his chart, I say. No, Stan agrees, but it's in Jamie's sketchbook. He wrote it down. Shepard looks at his hands, silent. Outside, the sky presses black against the windows. Someone's left the radio on in the kitchen, old jazz, filtered through decades of static. I clear my throat. Do you mind if I talk to Jamie again tomorrow? Maybe with some photos from the archives, see if he can pick out Riley. Stan gives a hollow laugh. You're the only person he'll talk to right now. If it helps him, I'm in. Shepard stands, tosses his cup in the bin. Just keep it gentle. He's been through enough. I get up too. He's a tough kid, tougher than most adults I know. Shepard manages a half smile. You would know. He heads out, shoes squeaking on the waxed tile. Stan lingers. He looks older than he did at sunset. Thanks, Ray, whatever this is. Just find out if it's really my boy talking, or if someone else is in there. I nod. I'll dig up what I can. He claps my shoulder, hard enough to remind me of old times, soft enough that I can feel the tremble in his palm. Then he disappears down the corridor, hands shoved in his pockets. I linger in the cafeteria, watching the swirl of cream in my own coffee. All my life I've tried to believe in facts, not ghosts. But sometimes the past doesn't want to stay buried. Tonight, I wonder if the dead are finally ready to talk back. The basement archives are a crypt. They keep them 2 stories below the emergency room in a cinder-block maze that smells like spilt toner and a century of failed cures. There's a buzzer by the security door, but at this hour the night clerk is too busy watching reruns to care who comes and goes. I sign the log, slip behind the desk, and start digging. The case files are stored on microfiche, rows and rows of plastic coffins. I run my thumb along the spines, searching for Grace Talbot. Her case is easy to find, because it barely exists. 1 sheet, 2 paragraphs, both as dry as the Sahara. Date of death, 12/02/2003. Cause, asphyxia due to compression of the neck. Circumstances, found by janitorial staff, presumed accidental entanglement. Closed within 48 hours. No follow-up. I scroll ahead to the staff log. Grace's personnel file is fatter, mostly disciplinary notes. Insubordination, lateness, inappropriate fraternization, with patients. Typical smear campaign. The last page is a termination recommendation, unsigned, dated the week she died. I jot a note, then move to security files. There's no Riley listed in 2003, but a Michael R. Riley shows up 3 years earlier. Pink-slipped for drinking. Suspected theft. No mention of his next job, just a forwarding address for a P.O. box in Lincoln Park. I keep going, chasing Jamie's breadcrumbs. The badge number, 3287, is there, listed under Hospital Incident Reports. Riley had a complaint for unauthorized access to the 3rd-floor pharmacy. The report is signed by Grace herself, 1 month before she died. My heart knocks around in my chest like it's looking for a way out. Next, I cross-check staff rosters for left-handed personnel. A footnote in Grace's medical records. Dominant hand, left. I flip to the death scene diagram. On the floor next to her were a left-hand latex glove, torn at the thumb, and a bloodied call button. None of that made the news. It barely made the file. I sit back, staring at the stack of printouts. Jamie remembered it all, down to the torn glove. I print copies, stuff them in my folder. On a hunch, I check the visitor logs from the weeks leading up to Grace's death. Riley, signed in 3 times, always late at night, always when Grace was on shift. I hit the police blotter for that week. No mention of homicide, just a short on a domestic dispute in the hospital parking lot. The responding officer? Stan Price, Jamie's father. The circle tightens. There's more, but the words swim. I'm tired, and the fluorescent flicker is gnawing at my peripheral vision. I close the file. My hands are shaking. On my way out, the night clerk barely looks up from his phone. "Find what you need?" he asks. "For now," I say, and leave him to his blue glow. Up in the lobby, it's empty except for the cleaning crew and an old man arguing with a vending machine. The storm outside has passed, but its smell lingers, a kind of metallic wetness that seeps in through the seams of the building. I step outside and light a cigarette. I don't smoke, not anymore, but tonight the ritual is all that keeps the shakes in check. On the curb, I call Stan. He answers on the first ring. "It's me," I say. "You were right. Riley's our man. He had a history with Grace, and he was here the night she died. Her file was scrubbed, but not clean enough." Stan breathes out, long and slow. "Jesus, so Jamie isn't imagining it," I finish. "He's remembering, or channeling, or whatever you want to call it. Either way, he's got details that no living person should." Silence. Then, "What do we do?" "Keep him safe, and keep an eye out for Riley. If he's still local, I want to talk to him." "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," I say. "Get some sleep." He hangs up. I stare at the blank sky, let the cigarette burn down to the filter. On the walk home, every shadow on the sidewalk looks like a man waiting for something. I keep my hands in my pockets and my eyes forward. The truth is, I don't know what's haunting Jamie Price. All I know is it's hungry, and it remembers more than I ever will. In the morning, I'll talk to the kid again. But tonight, I'll let the dead have the last word. The hospital break room is always a bad joke. Linoleum squares the color of bruise, vending machine out of everything but 0-calorie soda, half-dissected crossword on the table with ink bled through 3 clues. Outside, the rain comes down so hard it sounds like static on an old cop radio. I'm supposed to meet Jamie here, just Jamie, no parents, no shepherd, no audience. But for a minute, I'm alone, except for the ticking wall clock and my own echo. I run hot water over a mug that hasn't been washed since the Bush administration and set it under the coffee drip. The last drop lands with the gravity of a verdict. I don't touch it. My hands are shaking a little, and I watch them with the same clinical detachment Shepard used to give his EEG readouts. The door pushes open. Jamie comes in, hospital pajamas tucked into mismatched socks, arms hugging his ribcage like he's about to fall in on himself. He stands by the threshold, blinking at me, then at the window. I don't blame him. If I had a choice between me and the hurricane, I'd pick the hurricane. "Hey, kid," I say, "you want some cocoa? I think the machine's only 3 years expired." He shakes his head and slides into a plastic chair, knees drawn up. For a second, he just stares at the table, fingers drumming an absent tattoo. Then, "You wanted to talk about Grace." He doesn't phrase it as a question. I admire that. Cuts through the bullshit. I sit across from him, slow, make sure I'm at eye level. "You said she talked to you. You remember what happened the night she died?" His lips go flat, pressed into the same line I've seen on every witness who's about to tell me a story they know will ruin their life. Sometimes it's like I'm her, like it's happening again, even if I'm awake. He glances up. And for a second, he's older, ancient, with the fatigue of too many midnights. You want me to tell you how it felt? I nod. If you can. He closes his eyes and breathes. For a minute, nothing happens. Then his hands start to move, left thumb pinching the skin of his right wrist, over and over. He talks low, almost monotone. It's night, but the lights hurt. My head aches. I'm walking the 3rd floor and it's quiet except for the cleaning crew. I hear the elevator ding, and I think maybe it's just another nurse, but I'm wrong. His hands start to clench. I smell whiskey and soap. Someone's in the supply closet. I watch him, and suddenly the air in the break room feels thick, charged, like the moments before a fist fight. My own chest goes tight. Who is it? I ask. Jamie shakes his head. He doesn't show his face, not at first. He has gloves on. He grabs me from behind, and his arm... He chokes a little, starts to cough. It's strong. Not big, but strong. And he squeezes. I can't breathe. My shoes slip on the floor. He's gripping his own throat now, eyes wide open and unfocused. I want to stop him, but I can't. It's not just him reliving it. I'm reliving too. Not this case, but the girl I lost in '97 back when I was green and still thought the job was about prevention, not just paperwork. Her name was Ellie Carson. She disappeared after school one October, last seen in a raincoat yellow as a dandelion. I'd worked the case until my fingers bled on the file folders, until every suspect had been circled and X'd out and circled again. I still remember the parents. The mother's hair matted from pulling, the father's hands shredded from digging in the woods behind their house. The only thing I never found was Ellie. Sometimes, when I get a whiff of cheap detergent or wet earth, my throat locks up just like Jamie's. Stop, I say, but Jamie's past that point. His knuckles are white, lips blue. Jamie, it's okay. You're here. It's over. He relaxes, bit by bit, and when he looks up at me, his eyes are rimmed red, but there's no tears. He said my name. He said, Gracie, don't fight. He knew me. I think he'd been watching for a long time. Did you see a badge? Jamie nods, slow. He had it on his belt. The number started with a 3, but the rest is fuzzy. There was blood on it. Not a lot, just a dot, like he nicked himself on something sharp. I jot it down, but I'm thinking about the smell, whiskey and soap. Riley, the old security guard, fit that bill, but he was gone years before the murder. Unless... Jamie tugs at his wrist again. There's something else, he says. Grace was scared, but not just of him. There was a place she used to hide when she wanted to smoke. It wasn't in the blueprints. I look up. Where? Under the surgery wing, a door in the wall, behind the fire hose. It's painted over, but the latch still works. You can get to it through the janitor's closet. This is new, not in the reports, not in the sketches. You ever see it? He shakes his head. Just in her memory. She went there the night she died, but he was waiting. Maybe he knew about it, too. The kid slumps, like the words drained all the juice out of his batteries. I offer the cocoa again, and this time he takes it, sipping with small, careful swallows. I sit back and stare at the table, the old crossword now swimming in a slick of spilled water. Jamie's description is too sharp, too exact. He's not guessing. If anything, he's trying not to tell me the worst parts. You know why I do this, Jamie? I ask, and for a second I hear myself as an old man, desperate to justify his own fossilization. He shrugs, because sometimes the dead need someone to remember for them. He looks up at me, cocoa mustache on his lip. You remember for her? I try, I say, and it's more honest than I meant to be. For a while we sit in silence, the rain driving against the window so hard it sounds like gravel. Jamie pulls his knees up again and disappears into the hospital's blue glow. When I finally get up to leave, I turn to see him hunched over the crossword, filling in one box at a time, slow and methodical. I stand in the doorway a minute, watching. I want to believe he'll be okay, but the only thing I know about ghosts is that they never leave the people who carry them. As I step into the hallway, the overhead light flickers, just once. Enough to make me think of blue and then black, and then a girl's voice whispering that she's cold. I touch my neck, just to check that I'm still breathing. Somewhere in the hospital there's a door nobody's supposed to know about, and a boy who remembers things he shouldn't. And me? I'm starting to wonder if the reason I keep taking these cases is because I never learned how to let anyone rest in peace. Tomorrow I'll check the surgery wing. Tonight I'll try to sleep, but I know I won't. The dead have the last word, and sometimes they don't know when to quit. I spend the small hours parked under the sodium vapor outside the hospital's rear lot, rain basting the windshield until the world dissolves into streaks. Most nights I'd drive home and let bourbon finish the job the day started, but tonight the idea of 4 empty walls makes my skin crawl. Instead, I thumb the push button on my tape recorder, a battered Olympus I bought before cell phones could do the job, and let old ghosts rattle their chains. The Carson file is still first on the microcassette. I listen to my own voice. Missing, female, age 12, last seen at Elm and Hamilton, yellow raincoat. The playback sounds worse every year, warping around the vowels like the plastics starting to forget what memory is for. I hate the way I used to sound, harder, but also so much dumber. Like I still thought every case had a clean solution if you just cared enough. I spark a cigarette. It's ceremonial. If the car smelled any more like ash and disappointment, I'd have to register it as a mausoleum. For the first few drags, I think about nothing but the taste. Paper, poison, the afterbite of dried regret. Jamie's voice from earlier circles in my head, replaying the story of Grace and the chokehold in the supply closet. The detail about the badge number, the dot of blood on the plastic. I want to say it's all trauma, that the kid's brain is filling in the gaps with movie logic and the kind of hospital folklore every janitor whispers on the graveyard shift. But then there's the left-handed glove, the secret passage, the specifics nobody ever put in a report. I play back the next tape, interview with Grace's mother, December '03. She never complained, not about work, not about anything. She just wanted to help people. Maybe that's why she never left, even when things got bad. In the background, you can hear me shuffling paper, impatient. I want to slap the guy I was. I wonder if Jamie's the same way. If, 20 years from now, he'll hate the version of himself that survived all this. The rain intensifies, drumming the roof until I can barely hear my own thoughts. I run the window down a hair, let the night air slice through the interior. The smell is clean, ozone and petrichor and something faintly medicinal. For a second, I remember the first time I found a body, before the stink set in, when it just looked like someone sleeping off a bad decision. I listened to the Carson tape one more time, fast-forwarding to the end. Still no suspects. Day 56. Possible connection to earlier abductions, but nothing sticks. Parents holding up as best they can. I let the tape spool out. 56 days, and I never found her. I still think about her every time a case gets cold. I flick the cigarette out the crack in the window, watch it arc through the headlights and gutter in a puddle. The rain sizzles it out in seconds. Maybe Shepard's right. Maybe the brain is just a funhouse, warping pain into stories you can stand to live with. Or maybe, just maybe, the world's weirder than any of us want to believe. Kids like Jamie don't come around often. When they do, you either protect them or you use them up. I sit in the idling car for an hour, watching the hospital windows glow and fade, wondering if the dead ever stop trying to talk through us. At dawn, I'll go check the surgery wing, hunt for a door that shouldn't exist. Until then, I'll let the past play on a loop and hope that this time I don't screw up the ending. Most people don't know this, but hospitals are built like anthills. For every bright corridor and cheery mural, there's a double helix of tunnels running underneath, all concrete arteries and nervous wiring. You want to know what a place is really hiding? You go underground. I rope Nurse Boyd into the search with a promise of security sweep, which she buys only because she hates surprises more than paperwork. She shows up with a key ring big enough to anchor a small yacht and the skeptical glare of someone who's had enough of my brand of bullshit. We meet at the back of the surgery wing, in a corridor so narrow the lights seem to squeeze you from both sides. She fiddles with her lanyard, waiting for me to make my move. "You think we're really going to find a secret door?" she asks, voice pitched low. "Not a door," I say. "A memory with hinges." She rolls her eyes but follows as I trace the wall by the fire hose, fingers searching for the seam Jamie described. The paint's different here. A little too smooth, a little too bright. Maybe it's new, maybe it's covering something old. I press and feel a give. "Got a knife?" I ask. She produces a surgical blade, sharp as her wit. I score the edge of the panel, and the first cut peels away in a single stubborn strip. Beneath, a dull metal latch. "Shit," she breathes, and I nod, already savoring the look on Shepard's face when I tell him. The door opens with a groan, and cold air rolls out like it's been waiting for centuries. We step into a service shaft, barely lit by sickly blue bulbs. The walls are lined with old lockers and boxes marked with faded Sharpie. Supplies, do not remove. Drip, drip, drip from somewhere down the tunnel. The floor is slick and uneven, and each step echoes forever. "Your kid really saw all this?" Boyd asks. "Every detail," I say, and I don't mention that I'm starting to believe him more than I believe in myself. We move slow, her in front with the keys, me behind, thinking about the last time I walked into a dark place on a hunch. It hadn't ended well. Halfway in, I catch the scent of something sweet, almost floral. It doesn't fit. A perfume from another era. I'm about to mention it when Boyd stops dead. "There," she says, pointing. On the ground, in the angle of a locker door, something small and metallic catches the light. I crouch and pick it up. It's a silver locket, heart-shaped, cold as the floor it's been living on. There's a fine etching on the back. GT for Grace Talbot. The clasp is bent, but intact. I pop it open. Inside, a scrap of photo, half a face and an eye. The other side is smeared with something dark, flaked into powder. I rub it, and my fingertip comes away gray-black. "That's not blood," Boyd says, voice tight. "Ash." I pocket the locket, heart pounding. This shouldn't be here, but it is, and the fact of it makes Jamie's whole story vibrate with new voltage. I'm about to stand when my phone buzzes. It's a text from Shepard. "Jamie's awake and asking for you." "Give me a second," I tell Boyd. She waits while I text Shepard back, ask if Jamie's all right. The reply comes in seconds. He's upset. Keeps saying you're in danger. I relay this to Boyd and she shrugs. "Maybe your ghost stories are catching up to you." We head back, shutting the metal door with a wet snap. I feel eyes on me the whole way, but it's probably just the security camera, one of those cheap models that records only when it wants to. Back upstairs, the world is sterile and safe again. I hand the locket to Shepard, who turns it over with clinical awe. "Can I show Jamie?" he asks. Be my guest, I say, but I follow him to Jamie's room anyway. The kid is curled in a ball, sheets pulled up to his chin, eyes flicking between the clock and the window like he's waiting for something to come through either. He relaxes when he sees the locket. "That's hers," he whispers, and he takes it with both hands, reverent as a priest. "You did good, Jamie," I say. He looks at me, face pale. "He's still here." I don't ask who. When I leave, I pass Nurse Boyd in the hall. She's pale, too. "You okay?" I ask. She nods, but her hands say otherwise. "That smell, did you notice it?" "What?" "Flowers. Like spring, but wrong. Like they were buried a long time." I do now. I walk the corridors, locket burning a hole in my memory. Maybe Jamie's right. Maybe the man who did this is still in the hospital hiding in plain sight. Or maybe, just maybe, the dead don't let go until you make them. Either way, I know where I'm going next. And this time, I won't be alone. Dr. Colton's office is the kind of place that makes you feel underdressed no matter what you're wearing. Glass walls, a walnut desk with no clutter, a single orchid breathing in its own filtered air. The windows run floor to ceiling, so you get a panoramic view of the storm chewing up the parking lot. When I step in, Colton's standing with his back to me, hands clasped behind him, spine so rigid it looks soldered in place. "Detective," he says, and the way he says it, you can tell he's memorized the word from TV but never actually met one. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" I hold up the locket, dangling it by the chain so it rotates slow and deliberate. "You recognize this?" He turns, eyes flicking to the locket, then to me. "Should I?" "It belonged to Grace Talbot. Found it in a tunnel under the surgery wing." He raises an eyebrow. "I'm not sure what relevance that has now. That case was closed before you even knew this hospital existed." "I'm reopening it," I say, and watch for the twitch. There, right corner of his mouth, a tremor, then gone. He moves to the desk, motions for me to sit. I don't. "We have patience, Detective. The past is not my area of expertise." "I think the past is about to become very relevant to you." He sighs, sits, fingers interlaced on the desktop. "Look, I understand that this boy is having some difficulties, but you know as well as I do that memories are unreliable, especially in cases of trauma." I set the locket down, let it clink against the wood. "Jamie Price is remembering details nobody else had, not even in the files you scrubbed, like the badge number, or the fact that Grace was left-handed." He shifts in the chair, trying to hide his discomfort. "So he read it somewhere. Children are sponges. He also knew about the tunnel and the locket." I lean in, voice low. "You ever go down there, Doc?" He holds my stare, but his eyes keep cutting to the locket like it's ticking. "Only for inspections. I don't see what you're implying." "I'm implying that somebody wanted Grace Talbot gone, and they had access, maybe even a reason." He scoffs, a little too loud. "Grace was troubled. She'd threatened lawsuits, spread rumors about the staff. She was on her way out. If you're looking for suspects, look at the ones who had something to lose." "Like you?" I say, and now his hands are white on the desk. The rain hammers the glass, a roar that fills every silence. I smell the orchid, but underneath is a faint ghostly trace of lavender, Grace's perfume. I don't believe in hauntings, but I believe in reminders. Colton's lip curls. "Are you threatening me, Detective?" "No, but I am making sure you know I'm watching." He pushes away from the desk, paces to the window. Lightning fractures the sky, and for a second he's just a silhouette, shaking with adrenaline. "You want to know the truth?" he says, not turning. Nobody cared about Grace. Not really. They cared about keeping the hospital afloat, about avoiding scandal. He looks over his shoulder. What do you care about? I take the locket back, close my fist around it. I care about not losing another girl in the rain. For a second, neither of us moves. Then he straightens his jacket, dismisses me with a nod. If you're done, I have rounds. I leave him with his windows and his storm. As the door closes behind me, I swear I hear a woman's voice, soft, almost a song, echoing in the vents. Maybe the dead aren't done talking after all. I spend the night in my apartment, lights off, blinds half-mast. The city outside is just a rumor, a slow bleed of sodium orange and the far-off wail of sirens that never sound urgent anymore. The clock on my kitchen wall is stuck at 3:17, so time stops when I close the door and won't start again until I leave. The locket sits on my desk next to a pile of old case notes I keep meaning to throw away. Every time I try, I end up paging through them, looking for a code or a pattern or even a typo that might make sense of it all. Tonight is no different. I stare at the locket, then at the notes, then back at the locket, like if I do it enough times, the two will explain each other. I think about Jamie, about what it means to carry other people's deaths inside you. Shepard says it's just a trick of the brain, neurons sparking in the dark, but I know what it's like to be haunted. Every detective does. Some of us just get better at hiding it. I replay the night's conversation with Colton, his voice oily with practiced innocence, his hands shaking under the table. I should feel triumph, but all I feel is cold. It's the same chill I felt under the hospital, in the tunnel where Grace left her last secret. Or maybe it's the same cold that crept in after the Carson case went sideways, and I realized that sometimes the truth isn't enough to bring anyone back. I pour coffee, black and burnt, and let the bitterness coat my tongue. The first light of morning sneaks in, blue-gray and tentative. I could sleep, but I don't. Instead, I lay out the evidence, the locket, Jamie's drawings, the printout from the microfiche, the page from Grace's personnel file with the note about the left hand. I line them up and stare at them until the shapes blur. If I'm honest, I don't know if Jamie is seeing ghosts or just echoes of other people's misery. Maybe there's no difference. Maybe the real curse is remembering it all. I tell myself I'm going to drop the case, call Shepard, let the hospital handle its own mess. But I know I'm lying. The only reason I'm still alive is because I don't let things go, even when it'd be easier to forget. As the sun crawls up, I dress, grab my badge, and tuck the locket in my pocket. I dial Stan but hang up before he answers. There's nothing to say yet. Not until I finish this. Before I leave, I look at my reflection in the oven door, dark and warped and older than I remember. I think about what Jamie said, that he doesn't like being her, that the cold never leaves. I guess I don't either. I head out, and the door clicks shut behind me. Today, I'll chase the truth. And maybe, if I do it right, the dead will finally get some rest. Or maybe not, but at least this time I won't be running from them. The call comes at 2:04 a.m., when the world is at its meanest, and the hospital's only gods are janitors and caffeine. I'm back on the 3rd floor, pretending I have something left to offer, when the code blue goes off. Pediatrics, exterior, roof access. For a second I don't move, because code blues are as routine as breathing here. But then a phrase floats up from Shepard's rounds yesterday. Jamie's afraid of heights. When my legs remember how to work, I'm running. The stairwell stinks of bleach and mold, lit only by the angry pulse of the exit sign. Each step is a gunshot in the concrete shaft. My heart isn't built for this anymore, but I keep moving, Keep picturing a 9-year-old in hospital pajamas, swaying above the parking lot, rain slashing sideways. I reach the roof door, shove it open, and the wind nearly slams it back in my face. Rain comes at me in sheets, thick as rope. The sodium glow from the city paints everything the color of old crime scene tape. Jamie stands at the far edge, backlit by a blue-white flicker of lightning. He's not alone. Dr. Colton is with him, hands on Jamie's shoulders, guiding him to the edge of the gravel ballast. For a split second, it looks almost fatherly. Then Colton glances over, sees me, and his whole body jerks with the guilt of a man who just found religion at the wrong moment. "Jamie?" I shout, but the wind eats my voice. I try again, moving closer, hands spread like I'm approaching a spooked animal. "Let the boy go, Colton." Colton gives me a politician's smile, all white and nothing behind it. "Detective," he says, and the word floats above the roof like it belongs to someone else. "You're just in time. Jamie's been dying to talk to you." Jamie's lips are moving, but it's not his voice I hear. It's higher, broken on the edges, the voice of a woman crying and laughing at the same time. I can't make out the words, just the rhythm, over and over. "Please help me, please help me, I can't wake up." My shoes lose traction on the slick gravel. I slow down, half-crouched, ready for anything. My badge is heavy in my pocket, useless now. Colton's smile fades. "You really should let this go," he says, and for the first time I hear the tremor in his voice. "You know what happens to people who can't let go, Detective?" "They end up on hospital roofs with nothing to lose," I say. He laughs, short and sharp. "Spoken like a true believer." He turns to Jamie, stoops so they're eye to eye. "Tell him what you remember, Jamie. Tell him the truth." Jamie's hands are shaking, blue with cold, but his gaze never leaves the horizon. When he speaks, the voice is doubled. Jamie's and someone else's, layered like bad audio. "It was you," Jamie says. "You were supposed to protect her." Colton's jaw clamps. I tried to help her. "You locked her in," Jamie says. "You left her there." A bolt of lightning shreds the sky, close enough that the thunder knocks the breath out of me. In the flash, I see Colton's hand on Jamie's wrist, fingers digging in. My own hands go to my sidearm, but all I find is a fistful of rain. I step closer, closing the gap. "Let him go, Colton. Whatever you did, it's over." He shakes his head. "Nothing's ever over. You know that better than anyone. You think I wanted any of this? I was cleaning up the mess for the hospital, for her family, for everyone. Is that what you told yourself?" I'm 5 feet away now, and I can see the veins pulsing in his temple. "That you were the hero?" He looks at Jamie, something desperate in his eyes. "She begged me not to. She said she'd ruin us all." Jamie sways, lips moving faster now. "You promised you wouldn't let him hurt me. You promised." The wind catches Jamie, almost toppling him, but Colton hauls him back by the shoulder. "I did what I had to. She was unstable, she—" He stops, sees something behind me. For half a heartbeat I think it's Shepard, or maybe security, but there's nobody there. Just us, the rain, and the truth. Jamie's knees buckle. He drops, clutching his chest, and for a moment I think he's going over the edge. I dive, tackle him, but the impact sends us both sprawling onto the wet rooftop. My jacket rips, skin grinding against tar and gravel. Colton staggers, almost slips, then steadies himself on the railing. Jamie's eyes are wide, black as oil. He's not here, not really. His lips part, and a woman's voice comes out, so clear it makes the hair on my arms stand up. "You killed me," he says. "You watched me die." Colton backs away, hands trembling. "No, you don't understand. I tried to save you." "You locked the door," Jamie whispers. "You turned off the lights." He's not speaking to Colton anymore. He's speaking to the sky, the storm, the world that never listened. I scoop Jamie up, haul him to my chest. He's featherlight, shaking so hard his teeth chatter. "I've got you," I whisper, even though I know it's a lie. Colton leans over the railing, staring at the drop. For a moment, I wonder if he's about to finish what he started. Instead, he turns, soaked through and ruined, and says, "You'll never prove it. All the evidence is gone. They burned it. They burned everything." I reach into my pocket, fingers numb, and pull out the locket. It glints in the wet, heart-shaped and accusing. I toss it at his feet. "Not everything," I say. He picks it up, stares at it like it's radioactive. For a second, I think he might cry. "You don't get it," he says. "She was going to destroy us. She was sick. She made up stories about everyone. She said the hospital was haunted. She said she could hear the dead in the walls." Jamie shudders, voice trembling. "She wasn't lying?" Colton looks at him, really looks at him, and the mask slips. "You're just a kid," he says, voice soft. "What do you know?" Jamie blinks, and for an instant the child is gone and Grace Talbot is staring through him. "Enough," he says. Colton slumps against the rail, defeated. The fight has gone out of him. Above us, thunder rolls, softer now. The storm is moving east, dragging the last of the night with it. I cradle Jamie, waiting for the paramedics who will never understand any of this. Colton stands motionless, eyes fixed on the city below. When the first red lights flicker on the horizon, I finally let myself breathe. Down in the ER, Shepard meets me with a towel and a stare that could strip paint. "You find what you were looking for?" he asks, not unkindly. "Depends," I say. "You still believe in ghosts?" He doesn't answer. Instead, he kneels by Jamie, checks his vitals, and whispers something I can't hear. Colton is gone, but he left the locket behind. I pick it up, rub the tarnished surface with my thumb. Grace Talbot's initials are almost worn away, but they're still there. Maybe that's enough. I look at Jamie, pale and blinking under the fluorescence. He smiles, just a little. "Did I help?" he asks. I nod. "You helped." He closes his eyes, finally at peace. I hand the locket to Shepard. "Give this to her family if they're still around." He pockets it, then claps my shoulder. "Go home, Ray." I start for the exit, shoes squelching, hands raw and bloody. The rain's stopped, but the city is still a wound that won't close. I light a cigarette, even though I shouldn't, and watch the smoke dissolve into morning. For the first time in years, I almost believe I can sleep. The morning after, I'm back in the basement. Shepard claims Jamie is stable, but the way he says it is like he's reading off a tombstone. The overnight team found a faint handprint on the roof door, child-sized and smeared with rain, and now the hospital's sealed up tighter than a taxidermist's smile. 2 uniforms flank the elevator as I exit. Their eyes skate over me and land on the plainclothes detective from the night shift. A kid named Bell, hair not yet scared into retreat, suit still believing in second chances. "Marshal," Bell says, no hint of question. "You ready?" "Born ready," I lie. The 3 of us snake through service corridors, past wheeled gurneys and carts loaded with spent PPE. The staff moves like ghosts, nobody meeting my eyes. I see Nurse Boyd at the far end of the hall, arms folded, expression sharpened to a razor, and I raise a hand. She nods, once. At the maintenance closet, Bell produces a skeleton key. This where he said? I nod. Janitor's closet, behind the fire hose. The uniforms muscle the door, flashlights cut through the gloom. The air tastes of bleach and mildew and the old, greasy tang of secrets. The wall is painted cinder block, cheap latex over 30 years of mistakes. I run my hand along the baseboard until I find it, the latch Jamie described, nearly invisible under the sloppy paint job. I flick it. There's a mechanical clunk, deep and final. Belle helps me shoulder the hidden door. It grinds open, stubborn and wet, revealing a narrow passage. The walls close in at once, making my heart rattle like a moth in a jar. The three of us squeeze through, flashlights pinging off pipes and ancient graffiti. 20 feet in, the tunnel opens into a cramped utility vault, more crawl space than room. The floor is sticky, damp. A single, dust-choked bulb dangles overhead. There's a cot. Mildew eats the mattress, but the sheets are still bunched in the corner, stained with something old and brown. Next to the cot, a milk crate filled with cigarette butts and torn packets of lavender gum. A second crate holds files, records maybe, or letters. The third crate is the kicker, a bundle of latex gloves, torn at the thumbs, each pair still rolled in on itself like they'd been peeled off in a panic. Belle crouches, lifts one of the gloves. You think this is where it happened? I say nothing. I already know the answer. The far wall is plastered with photos, nurses, staff, Polaroids from old Christmas parties, shots of kids on Halloween. In the center, the largest photo, Grace Talbot in scrubs, mid-laugh, caught forever with a cigarette and a peace sign. Someone's drawn a halo around her head in blue pen. I swallow. My mouth tastes like tin. Belle starts to photograph the scene, gloves snapping. You see this? He holds up a folded page, heavy with grease. Payroll record. Riley, Michael R. Listed as terminated, but he kept punching in after they canned him. Night shifts. Unofficial. No record in HR. I scan the rest of the wall, looking for anything that doesn't fit. In the shadow near the cot, there's a spot where the paint looks fresher. I tap it. Hollow. Give me your knife, I say, and Belle obliges. I chip away at the plaster, revealing a shallow niche. Inside, a badge, plastic, cracked. The name worn to a ghost, but the number is clear. 3287. And there's something else, a key. Old, flat, stamped, B3. Sub-basement, Belle says. You think... But before he can finish, I hear something behind us. The door at the end of the passage, slamming shut. My flashlight flicks to the entrance. Nothing but echo. But then, faint. A voice. Detective? It's Jamie, Belle curses. How'd he get down here? But I already know. I push past Belle, scramble through the tunnel. The uniforms catch up, weapons drawn, unsure of what's alive or dead in this place. At the threshold I see Jamie, barefoot, eyes rimmed with black. He's not looking at us. He's looking past, into memory. He's here, Jamie whispers. He's going to finish what he started. A sudden movement at the corner. Colton, soaked and wild-eyed, clutching a length of pipe like a priest with a crucifix. Stay back, he yells, voice torn and bleeding. You don't know what this place is. You don't know what I've done for you. The uniforms advance, but Colton swings the pipe, catching one on the jaw. Belle draws down, shouts, "Drop it!" But Colton doesn't listen. He's not in the present anymore. He's running from every ghost that ever learned his name. He lunges for Jamie, but I get there first. I shove Jamie behind me, take the blow on my forearm. Bone on pipe, pain like a live wire, but I don't let go. Colton drops the pipe, panting. His eyes dart from me to the wall, then to Jamie. He said she'd forgive me, He wheezes. He said if I helped, it would stop. Bell cuffs him while he's still babbling, presses him to the ground. The other cop radios for backup. In the chaos, I turn to Jamie. He's on the floor, curled tight, spasming. His lips are blue, breath rattling, shallow and fast. I kneel, roll him on his side, but his eyes are rolled back and his hands claw at the air. She's cold, he whispers. I can't wake up. Please. I hold his shoulder, try to anchor him, but it's like holding on to water. Around us, the crime scene blooms in blue and red, the Polaroids on the wall rippling in the stutter of police strobes. Jamie's body bucks, then goes limp. His heartbeat flutters under my palm, erratic and wild. I call for Shepard, but nobody answers. I tear off my jacket, wrap him up, rock him like I once rocked my own daughter when the night terrors hit. Stay with me, kid, I murmur. You're not going anywhere, not now. Behind us, Colton screams. Not at me, not at Jamie, at someone only he can see. The paramedics arrive, Shepard in tow. He kneels by Jamie, checks his airway, hooks him to oxygen. He'll live, Shepard says, but his voice cracks. I nod, collapse back against the wall. My arm throbs, blood slick on my wrist where the pipe bit deep. But I don't care. Bell kneels beside me. You did good, Marshal. Did I? I ask, watching the Polaroids sway. I think about Carson, about the daughter I lost, about all the ghosts I've ever tried to save. For a second, I see Grace in the crowd of faces. She's not smiling, not at peace. She's watching, waiting. I close my eyes and try to remember how to breathe. They wheel Jamie out first, Shepard never leaving his side. The evidence techs bag everything, move slow and silent like they're handling relics. Bell's on the radio, relaying the bust to headquarters, sounding for all the world like he's just solved the Kennedy assassination. I stay behind, alone in the hollow room. I look at the badge again, thumb the numbers until they cut into my skin. 3287. The room is colder now. I can almost hear Grace whispering from the cinder block. Thank you. I pocket the badge and follow the blood trail up the stairs, out into the new day. Maybe Shepard was right. Maybe the brain just makes stories so we can live with ourselves. But sometimes a story is all you get. I hope it's enough. The hospital is never quiet, not even at dawn. Most people think the graveyard shift ends with the sunrise, but here it just molts, puts on a new badge, and keeps going. I find myself pacing the corridor outside Jamie's room, sipping vending machine coffee that tastes like rewarmed regret. My arm is wrapped in an improvised sling, courtesy of Nurse Boyd, who grumbled the whole time but cinched the knot tight enough to stop a truck. Shepard's in the next room, dictating charts to a sleep-deprived intern. Every now and then I catch a word or two. Seizure, probable trauma, stabilized for now. It should sound reassuring, but it just makes my stomach ache. Bell is back, this time with a legal pad and the look of a man who's spent the night on paperwork. He leans against the wall beside me. Statement's ready, he says. Want a review before I file? I shake my head. Just put the truth down, for once. He snorts. That's new, coming from you. I let it slide. There's nothing left to fight about. From the nurse's station, I watch the sun break over the city, pink and orange bleeding up the glass. In the new light, the world looks almost clean. Almost. They wheel Colton out in cuffs just after shift change. The press is already circling, drawn by the scent of a scandal, but the uniforms hustle him through the back. He doesn't look at anyone, eyes fixed on the floor. I wonder if he'll even remember what he did, or if some part of him still believes he was the hero. If so, he's the loneliest one in the building. Jamie comes to just before 8. Shepard lets me in first. The kid looks small under the tangle of wires and adhesive pads, but when he sees me, he grins like a magician who just got away with something. His hair is a mess, his face pale, but the color in his cheeks is real. "You saved me," he says. I try to play it off. "Nah, you saved yourself." He shakes his head, solemn. "I don't hear her anymore. I think she's gone." I nod. I want to say something meaningful, something that makes the whole mess worth it, but all I can do is rest my good hand on his. He squeezes back, stronger than I expect. "Will you be okay?" he asks. "Eventually," I say. "You?" He thinks about it. "Yeah, I think I will." Shepard stands in the doorway watching us. His eyes are red, but his voice is steady. "You did good, Ray." I shrug, not trusting myself to talk. Shepard says, "There's something you should see. Downstairs." He leads me to the memorial wall. The faces of the dead, children, nurses, the occasional doctor, stare out from their glossy rectangles, frozen in time. Grace Talbot is there, front and center, with that same half-smile and cigarette. Someone, probably Shepard, has left the locket pinned to the bottom of her frame. It catches the morning sun, flashes once, then settles into shadow. "You think this ends it?" I ask. Shepard considers. "Maybe, or maybe it just makes room for the next ghost." I look at Grace's picture, then at my own warped reflection in the plexiglass. "I never wanted to be the guy who chased ghosts," I say. "I just wanted the living to have a chance." Shepard's hand finds my shoulder, gentler than expected. "You gave him one." We stand like that for a while, not talking. The world outside gets louder, busier. The news trucks set up shop at the curb. I can already imagine the headlines. "Pediatrician arrested in cold case. Hospital haunted by secrets. Veteran detective unravels mystery." I wonder how they'll spin it. Probably won't mention Jamie or Grace or all the other stories that never get told. I leave the wall, head for the parking lot. The day is warm, humid, a low haze clinging to the city. I roll my sleeve down, hide the bruises, light a cigarette I don't even want. The taste is familiar, bitter and reassuring. Before I get in the car, I check my messages. One from Belle, "Case closed, thanks for the help. Next round is on me." One from Shepard, "Jamie's doing well, discharge in a week." And one from a number I don't know, but the message is short. "Thank you, Ray. G." I stare at it for a while, then delete it. Not because I don't believe, but because I do. As I pull away, I glance in the rear view. The hospital recedes into the morning, a monument to every mistake I've ever made. But for the first time in a long while, I don't feel like it's chasing me. Maybe there's no such thing as closure. Maybe there's just learning to live with the dead and hoping they let you sleep. I drive until the sun's too bright to see the road. Then I close my eyes and let the world keep spinning. The dead never quit, but neither do I. Maybe that's enough.